Welcome, colleagues. Thank you so much for taking the time a couple of days before Thanksgiving to be together in this sort of unusual format. For those of the faculty colleagues, new colleagues, and staff who are new to the college, normally we would be obviously doing this in person, and before the actual presentation, we would have had some time to mingle, enjoy some appetizers and some of the college's famous wine. But I'm really sorry that we couldn't do that this year together. But here we are, and you've been teaching and reaching out to everybody else by Zoom. So this is not going to be any different. So it is the 2020 State of the College of Science and Engineering. And let me, now, I'm not having much luck actually forwarding, there we go. All right, let me give a quick overview of the agenda for today's presentation. Of course, I will start with some expression of thanks. And then we will go through updates of the data and information that we do on an annual basis on personnel, students, research, finance, facilities, and more this year on diversity, equity, and inclusivity, and an update on the growth of the college. And of course, what you all are aware of, which is the next steps in the transition of the leadership of the college. So let me begin by thanking you. We wouldn't be here, our students wouldn't be just a day before their move to post-Thanksgiving, end of the semester with no additional pivots, fortunately, because of you. You have been amazing, amazing faculty, amazing staff, and of course, students have been amazing in adjusting their ways and modes of learning, and you adjusting your ways of teaching and provide the support and services that each one of you does so that we can really carry on the business of the college in the best way we can under these circumstances. I want to do a special shout out to all of those within the college or outside of the college in our community who work on the front lines, put themselves in harm's way from the COVID-19 problems and otherwise. For all of you who provide essential services, do your essential work on campus or elsewhere, and for so many of you who have been doing your work, teaching, learning, doing your service duties, everything else while managing the incredible challenges and pressures that many of you have giving care to your families, children, parents, other loved ones, friends, whoever that you've been taking care of. So thank you so much for everything that you do, you have been doing, and you will continue to do, because unfortunately we will be dealing with this unusual situation, incredible situation, for a few months at least. I'm just going to talk about a few things that we can all celebrate at first. And to begin with, I want to show an example of the creativity and the heroic effort that so many of you have been doing. And this particular example is incredible by our colleagues in chemistry, students and faculty who have really stepped up during the summer as we planned what the fall semester was going to look like, and decided what could they do to manage to actually teach well over 2,000 students, beginning chemistry, general chemistry laboratory, while managing the safety precautions that all of us have to operate under. And if you haven't seen these photos, you'll have fun with them, because look what they did. They really jumped in there. They ordered over 50,000 parts, as I understand, and created some 2,500 lab kits for chemistry to be done at home. This is what they did. It's amazing. It's amazing, and I'm just totally in awe of the effort that went into this. But this was just one example of these innovations, special projects that everybody did on a very short time span. Beginning physics lab was also made into kits and made available to the students, actually even for the summer session, and many, many others. So just to give you a perspective on what you've been doing, which really has helped us keep the semester going safely. I mentioned that there are many reasons for us to celebrate. We obviously have new colleagues, which we celebrate. We have some incredible new major awards, which we'll talk about, major center grants and partnerships. We have some of our colleagues who've done an incredible job actually winning competitions in startups. The Minnesota Cup winners, actually they won two, #1 and #2, both from mechanical engineering, our colleagues, Allison Hubble, Paul Strakowski, Watson, and other colleagues of theirs from elsewhere. We also have launched 2 new degrees this year. The Master of Science in Robotics has been extremely successful in its launch with some 28 students. And the new Bachelor of Science in Data Science has also been launched. So congratulations again to all of you for everything that we have been able to accomplish this year. So let's now take a look at some of the numbers. Well, I don't have to, this is not a surprise. We all know that we've been operating under these very difficult conditions, which has put limitations on the number of students who have been able to join us, operating under hiring freeze for both faculty and staff. And so overall, the numbers in terms of headcounts have been down this fall compared to the last. So as you can see, the total number of headcounts in the College of Science and Engineering is down some 176 fall to fall. And these downward trends are across all the different areas. So for example, the regular faculty lines numbers are down by 12, and similarly for non-tenure track faculty, postdocs, graduate assistants, although the number of TAs are up in terms of appointments. Keep in mind that the numbers I have here for TAs and RAs have overlap. So some of the students in the total number of graduate assistants may hold both partially a teaching assistantship as well as a research assistantship. Staff are down overall, as are the student workers, not surprisingly. This, of course, any of you who follow the Board of Regents and watch the Board of Regents proceedings, I'm sure it doesn't surprise you that the board often actually has been asking questions about how many, what the headcount situation is in the college, and they're really looking to this downward trend overall, but we will see how things will go long term. This is just an updated trend for all of these different groups. I won't be spending any time. As you can see, the instructional staff is definitely down compared to last fall. And we had been increasing until actually last fall, but now we've had this downward trend and generally downward trend in all the other categories. We've had about nearly a dozen new colleagues who have joined us or will be joining us next semester. So this is new faculty in 2021. And as you can see, in civil, environmental and geoengineering, chemistry, CSNE, ECE, industrial systems engineering, mathematics, mechanical engineering, physics, and astronomy. So these welcome again to all the colleagues who have joined us or will shortly. And I'm looking forward to all of us working together for success in your careers within the College of Science and Engineering. Talked about major awards by our faculty. And again, I'm tremendously pleased to highlight these sort of top of the line awards that you can see here. In Graham Candler receiving the National Academy of Engineering membership, and Mark Hirschman hitting the jackpot with 2 of them. I think it was within a week. Election to the National Academy of Science, as well as the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, together with Laura Gagliardi. Other major awards at the national regional level, of course, Georgios Giannakis being elected to the National Academy of Inventors and also becoming a fellow of the European Academy of Sciences. Paul Downhauer as the MacArthur Foundation Fellow, the so-called Genius Grant recipient, one of 2 at the University of Minnesota this year, and Jeff Calder with the Sloan Research Fellowship, and Rhonda Franklin with the ARC's Minnesota Chapter 2020 Scientist of the Year Award. So congratulations to all these colleagues for their major awards. We've, of course, been very fortunate, and I congratulate again all the colleagues who've received the NSF Career Awards. It's been a tremendous group, large number, so we're tremendously fortunate for the success of our colleagues. And of course, university levels through the various McKnight recognitions, the McKnight Presidential Professorship, to Svetlana Maibroda, Distinguished McKnight University Professorship, Kevin Dorfman, McKnight Land Grant Professorships to Lindsay Glessner and Andrew Wickert, as well as 2 McKnight Presidential Fellows in Tim Kovalevsky and Lana Yaroshov. Congratulations to these colleagues. Teaching awards at the university level, as well as service awards, as you can see, to our distinguished faculty and staff. So congratulations to all for the undergraduate, as well as the graduate and professional education awards, and for the President's Award for Outstanding Service by Peter Ness, who's going to be leading the CSE machine shop. And continuing with the awards, of course, we have our collegiate awards annually, and Peter Brueggemann with the George Taylor Award for Distinguished Research, the George Taylor CSE Alumni Society Award for Distinguished Teaching to Michelle Jansen, and the George Taylor Award for Distinguished Service to both Lee Pan and Lucy Fortson. And Cindy Cattell was selected to receive the CSE Distinguished Professorship. So congratulations, colleagues. And these awards continue with the George Taylor Career Development Award, Lauren Lindemann and Lana Yarosh, the Charles Bowers Faculty Teaching Award to Jim Vandeven, and the Guillermo Borov Award to Mehmet Akçakaya. So congratulations, colleagues. Our students have done well with some major awards as well, both at the university and at the national level. The John Bowers Excellence in Teaching Assistant Award, we have 2 of them. As you can see, we had students who received the astronaut scholarships, one receiving the Goldwater Scholarship, and of course, the one who probably is has been the most visible and the most famous of all of us, frankly, at the national level, is the Jeopardy Collegiate Championship winner, Nibir Sarma. So congratulations to all our student award recipients and successful competitors. So tremendous accomplishments. Then we go to the situation with students. As I'm sure a number of you have been wondering what's happened with students entering our classes this fall and then overall, both at the undergraduate and graduate level. Not surprisingly, the number of students are down, as you can imagine, for obvious reasons. So the overall enrollment between undergraduate and graduate is down to a large extent because of that big drop in the graduate student enrollment, as you can see. And the degrees were down as well. Particularly concerning is the significant drop in the number of master's degrees, which we were expecting because the number of master's enrollments had been going down in some of our large master's granting programs. And in terms of the new undergraduate class, the freshman class, the first year class that joined us, we were also down. We were down about 56 students compared to last fall, and significantly down on the number of transfers. And we will talk about the situation with the growth of the college and how this drop in the new freshman class really plays in that framework. So some of the trends and graphs from Paul in terms of the undergraduate enrollments. As you can see, the number of applicants, of course, which had been going up significantly, is still relatively high. They go up and down recently as students change the way they do their applications, of course. And the number that were enrolled after a significant rise last fall has been down, is down this year, as I had indicated earlier. In terms of the mix of the students, the number of students, the percentage of students in our freshman class is at about 28%. It has been slightly over 30%, but the numbers are, in terms of total numbers, is still has gone up the way we had expected. And then the number of students of color has been going up steadily, but that, of course, to a large extent on the Asian and Asian American side, but slight increases in the African American Black students and a little bit more increase in terms of the Hispanic Latinx number of students. The international students, of course, are down this year in the entering class, again, because of the situation with visas and travel restrictions. Graduation rates have continued to increase. We're actually at an amazing rate of over 73% for four-year graduation and over 90% for six-year graduation. So this certainly is one of the best. Paul can explain this. I believe, at least in engineering within the Big Ten, I believe we may have the second highest graduation rate. But so tremendous accomplishments by our students, supported by our advisors and faculty. The career outcomes similarly have continued to be very strong, over nearly 96% positive and increasing career outcomes for our students, either through employment or graduate school. And so we're really at a level that even from an aspirational level for the university, we're one of the highest, clearly, together probably with Carlson School at really very successful career outcomes. The graduate trends, to summarize again, the total enrollment was down this year to a large extent because of the COVID-related situations with travel and visas again. But because of the large drop in the number of master's students, we're actually down significantly compared to, say, 4 years ago, about 10%. You can see that the number of international students is down really considerably more, nearly 20% compared to 2016. So now the number of international students in our graduate population is about 46% of the total, and we were over 50% before. The mix of our graduate students has continued to adjust slightly upward with the female students and with the males slightly downwards, and the URMs trending slightly upward, as you can see. Okay, we'll take a look at some of the research examples and research accomplishments. In terms of numbers, we've had some slight decreases in terms of research expenditures and in terms of the indirect costs that have been generated in FY20. And that obviously is a little bit of a concern, but we don't know if this is a trend or just a small blip, because particularly because of the changes that we're all facing with the situations. The technology transfer numbers, though, show continued healthy activities. Although the disclosures were slightly down, you can see that the patents that were issued, as well as the licensing agreements, are significantly up. So congratulations again to all who've been taking their ideas and out of the laboratory and translating them to applications for outside. And as you can see, we were also up in the number of startup companies out of the College of Science and Engineering. Just to look at, excuse me, some examples. I mentioned the two Minnesota Cup final award winners. Extremely proud of our colleagues for that accomplishment. And some examples as well for how our faculty and students and staff really mobilized and took on significant challenges as soon as we were faced with the COVID-19 challenges and the needs for health-related technologies and techniques and modeling and so forth. So that the list is long. Many of you have really led these efforts and participated in these efforts. Everything from ventilators to protective enclosures, face mask designs and so forth, and water supply testing, modeling, virus studies, aerosol dispersion studies, helping the Minnesota Orchestra, even these articles that have been in the paper about how they can operate safely with their instruments and so forth. So an amazing set of accomplishments and inventions and creations by so many of you. Just an example, the Coventer, that was the portable ventilator that was created in collaboration both with the medical school industry and our medical devices center. The Aerosol Booth that was led by Chris Hogan's team for safely testing for COVID has been in operation. Another tremendous example of those contributions. Let me now just quickly go over some center grants and also notable research grants that have come through, because we've had some really amazing ones, even during these very difficult times. Many of you know that we received one of four, these are called Gen 4, Generation 4 National Science Foundation Engineering Research Centers this year. University of Minnesota is the lead, together with MGH in Boston. This is Harvard MGH, and then with partners, University of California, Berkeley, University of California, Riverside, and also partnership from Carnegie Mellon University. The principal investor is John Bishop. The activity is led by many of our colleagues, both, of course, in the College of Science and Engineering, but also partners within the University of Minnesota more broadly. This is a tremendous success story, extremely competitive, and we're looking forward to 10 very productive years for this center. The $26 million, of course, is NSF money just for the first 5 years, which I expect will be renewed for another 5 years. And this is, of course, matched with significant contributions by industry as well as the university. BioMade is another significant manufacturing innovation institute that was announced. It is not led by the College of Science and Engineering, but because of the Biotechnology Institute, which is primarily in the College of Biological Sciences, but also jointly with the College of Science and Engineering, is the significant leader within the BioMade effort. We certainly celebrated just as well. So this is going to be a significant facility that's going to be on the St. Paul campus, and we're looking forward to collaborating the BioMade program as well. Our longstanding Materials Research Science and Engineering Center received a new grant. Again, it was renewed for $18 million. So congratulations to Mercer colleagues. And so forth. I mean, we have our Minnesota Nano Center and colleagues related to our fab facility are leading this Midwest Nano Infrastructure Corridor effort from the National Science Foundation. And similarly, there is the University of Minnesota led the National Science Foundation funded Global Quantum Leap on discovery of next generation computing and communication systems. And we are a major partner with the University of Wisconsin as the lead in the renewal of the NSF Center for Sustainable Nanotechnology, led at Minnesota by Christy Haynes in chemistry. So congratulations to those colleagues as well. And just as well, within the realm of hypersonics, we continue to have leadership on the particularly computational hypersonics area with our colleagues in aerospace engineering and mechanics, and particularly Graham Candler having a leadership role in a new DoD University Consortium for Applied Hypersonics. Okay, so that's been really incredible news of research accomplishments, which again, much to the credit of the hard work, creativity of all of you, so many of you colleagues. Thank you for keeping us going as one of the leading science and engineering academic institutions in the country. I'd like to now summarize, go quickly over the finances a bit. You've seen figures like this, and actually things haven't changed a whole lot in terms of how the pie is divided. It's just that the tuition has continued to go up in terms of its contribution to our budget. And similarly, where the funds go in terms of the finances, in terms of expenses and allocations, as you can see, the O&M allocations continue to be a bit over half This is to the departments and centers. And the cost pools that go to the university centrally continue to be a significant portion at 36%. And then the rest are divided into smaller pieces of the pie. It's good to just, again, look at the update in terms of how the different sources of funds, excuse me, have been evolving. And as you can see, we've now, the tuition again last year was roughly the same as the sponsored expenditures, but then this year now it has surpassed that amount. And the thing to keep reminding us is that we're now in the second year of the tuition surcharge. And that is why not only, even if the tuition rate has stayed constant this year, the tuition surcharge now has been phasing in. So we have a bigger group of students with the new students that have joined the college this year. And that's why we're seeing the uptick in the tuition. I won't spend too much time on the details of the budget, but this is where we are in FY21. The things that we've had to deal with are that we, as you probably know, we budget certain amounts with the university through our compact process, and we get appropriations from the state, part of the university's appropriation, from tuition, from the indirect costs and so forth. And if we look at these, you can see that our budget for FY21, of course, had the state appropriation. The tuition, unfortunately, the updated tuition is down compared to the budget by about over $2.5 million. The indirect costs are down by roughly about a couple of $2 million. And that creates a problem for us in FY21. In addition, we've had extra expenses for related to COVID, the largest one of which is the one that I showed you. That's tremendous effort by chemistry to put together the chemistry kits. So between fall and spring, we expect the cost for the kits to be on the order of $500,000. So overall, this creates a roughly a $5 million budget challenge for us in FY21. And I thank you for your generosity. And part of that generosity is really the furloughs that so many are operating under. And without the furloughs, frankly, I'm not sure how we would have managed this without cutting really significant operational side of the college. But so with the furlough, we're expecting roughly about $4 million that will go towards meeting this budget shortfall. So thank you. Now, that's FY21. We're now in the process of planning for FY22. And for FY22, while we have not gotten our instructions specifically, parts of the university have. And based on those, we know what our instructions are going to be requesting. And there are 3 possibilities that we're going to have to respond to in presenting our budget plans sometime around February in particular. We have to come up with situations or plans to have recurring cuts on the order of 3%, on the order of 6%, and God forbid, actually God forbid all of them, but the 9% is, I certainly very much hope that we won't be talking about that. Just to give you an indication of what the 9% implies, that's roughly 2.5 times the size of the dean's office budget. I'm talking about all of dean's office. That's the student services in Lind Hall, in Walter Library and anywhere else that the Dean's Office operates under. So we could completely kill the Dean's Office and still wouldn't be there. So it says that one is a real incredible challenge. And it's not clearly unique to the College of Science and Engineering. Everybody's doing these kinds of planning. So some of you know already that we have started doing some planning consultations to talk about ideas that we could possibly put together in our plans. We have 2 committees. And again, thanks to the staff who volunteered to be on those committees, for the staff committee, and also colleagues from the faculty side, actually many of them department heads who volunteered to be on a faculty committee for this consultation. And we've already started. We've had 1 meeting yesterday with the staff committee, and we will have a meeting with the faculty committee tomorrow. And there will be obviously more meetings, and we will be, and you have to excuse this, okay, telephone. Anyway, the plans have to be submitted likely in February to the university, and then we will see what happens. The thing to keep in mind, and why there's so much uncertainty about the range of things that we have to consider, the university has to consider, is that not only do we have uncertainties with respect to tuition and enrollments and so forth, but there is significant uncertainty about the state. We are in the process of, the university has submitted its budget request to the state. And we know that the state is going to have significant budget shortfalls. And so the question is, how will that impact the university's allocation in the next biennium, let alone this year where we already have our allocations. So because of all this, there's significant level of uncertainty in the budgets, and we have to plan for them. Okay, but on the good side, we've continued to make significant progress on the development side. Last year, you may remember or not, that I was pleased to announce that we had actually met the $250 million initial goal for the Driven campaign for the College of Science and Engineering, and that we had made a decision to have a new goal of $285 million. So that's what we were operating since the last meeting we had for our campaign. Well, not only have we met that, but now we are almost at 300 million. So let me take this opportunity and thank the community. Thank you, as I'll show shortly. This is all for student support. You remember faculty support, facilities, outreach, and various other initiatives in the college. But I want to again highlight with a real great thanks to over 1,000 faculty and staff who've given $17.5 million to the campaign. Thank you so much for your commitment, for your generosity to really keep the college strong through philanthropy. And I want to take the opportunity also, obviously, to thank all of our alumni, donors, supporters, everybody else who's continued to have trust in us and contribute to this fundraising effort, and to our staff in development and external relations who have worked so hard to help us together with our department heads, faculty, staff, everybody who's been involved in the whole fundraising effort. So thank you so much for everything. And let's hope that by June, we will indeed be celebrating 300 million and possibly more. Okay, so talking about gifts and other ways that one of the areas that we can get support, and we appreciate the support, is to help us with the facilities that we have planned and we're going forward with. So let me quickly update you where we are on the facilities. Last year, we talked about the fact that we were submitting or had submitted, excuse me, the request through the university for a $98 million total project for a new chemistry instructional laboratory. This is the Fraser building. Repurposing, which involved $65 million bonding request from the state. Unfortunately, while the bonding request was going forward very smoothly until March, then the COVID hit. And if you followed the governor's work with the legislature and 5 special sessions and so forth, unfortunately, we were not able to get the full funding for the chemistry project, but we were extremely fortunate to get $3.2 million funded for the design of the building. So we're working on this right now as we speak. So the project will be fully designed and ready for the next possibility where we can get the request funded, at which time it will actually be shovel ready and the project can start right away. The Lind Hall renovation that we again had talked about planning for is moving along. We actually have completed the design project. This one involves $33 million in internal loans as well as gifts. And the design has been completed, and the plan is to start that project in fall 2021. Similarly, the mechanical engineering phase 3 project now has been funded through the HEPR project, HEPR bonding for the university. So that project will start in December 22, this December. So a lot is happening on the construction side for us, creating some inconveniences, obviously, because people have to move, relocate to temporary spaces and so forth. Of course, in the list, we continue to have Vincent Hall needs, Shepherd Laboratories, floors 3, 4, and 5, and others that continue to come along. So we hope to get to those in time. Just a quick glance of what the chemistry project drawing, this is the artist drawing for the lab. And similarly, some glimpse of what the Lind Hall project will look like on the second floor, on the third floor for industrial and systems engineering, for computer science and engineering, and then in the basement also including some space for student organizations and classrooms and computer laboratories and so forth. So we're excited about this project moving along. I don't have to tell you that this summer really has been an incredible time of heightened attention and activism in the areas of diversity and inclusion, and particularly focused on the voice of the Black community, Black students, faculty, and staff. I mean, the tragedies involved in the tragic death of an incredibly sad situation with the George Floyd killing, as well as others elsewhere outside of Minnesota, really have heightened this attention to the issues of racial justice and what I can tell you, and you know this, because what we've had going on is significant level of conversation, planning, calls for actions across all the units within the College of Science and Engineering in our departments. And I want to really thank the leadership in our departments, both faculty, staff, department heads, and everybody who've really taken us, all of us, to task to do better on the issues of diversity and inclusion, particularly for BIPOC students, faculty, and staff. So last year was the first chance to actually introduce the CSE Diversity and Inclusivity Alliance as this core group for leading our efforts related to the culture of inclusion and climate within our programs. And so we've had significant leadership in this area this year by CSE D&I Alliance, as part of which I have, much to their leadership, I've committed up to $200,000 per year for attracting and funding cohorts of BIPOC postdoctoral postdocs who we hope can then transition to faculty positions in the College of Science and Engineering through the President's Postdoctoral Fellowship Program. Further, some of us have continued to have significant discussions with the industry in Twin Cities on the issues of diversity and inclusivity, because the need and interest in this area and the criticality of the issue is just as high within the employers of our students as it is for us who educate these students and do their research and so forth. So they have a great deal of interest, and we're continuing those discussions to see how we can work together better to really move the needle in some of these areas. Just a quick reminder of our group, CSE Diversity and Inclusivity Alliance. I don't have to read this for you. We talked about this last year as well, but I can tell you that the group has worked with OED and the college to support what I just talked about on the PPFP side. They have certainly held programs, highlighted the voices of BIPOC students, done anti-racism surveys, many other things, and many conversations and advice and call to action in their conversations with the deans, with the college, and elsewhere. So truly grateful for the leadership of our CSE D&I Alliance. And just to give you an update on where the Alliance is, it's grown. It's grown significantly compared to the numbers we had last year. As you can see, the Alliance composition with departmental champions, you can see the numbers. I don't have to go through them. It's really quite impressive. I want to especially thank the leadership of the Alliance. Actually, there's a group that leads the effort, but certainly the two co-chairs, Edgar Arriaga and Cara Santelli. So I want to give a special thanks to them that they have kept the Alliance moving together with everybody else through their leadership circle and the champions. So thank you all. So what's next? The obvious, we're not backing off from growing the college. You remember last year, we talked about the fact that we were going to approximately grow the freshman class by 100 each year of the next 3 years. Well, last fall, we overshot this number. We were extra successful. Unfortunately, this fall, we came under because of, not surprisingly, because of the COVID situation. So where we are with these plans is that at the moment, we have an agreement with the university, with the provost's office, to essentially go back, at least as a goal, to recruiting as many as we had planned to recruit for this year, which was up by about 75 students compared to fall 2019. So I hope all we've seen with respect to the growth of the college is a bit of a hiccup. And let's hope that with the vaccines and everything else, that by next fall, we will be in a situation where we will be back on track in continuing to grow the college as we had planned. And finally, you all know that there's a search being planned for the next Dean of the College of Science and Engineering. At the moment, the search committee is being formed. You all have been informed of that by the provost. I ask you to be engaged in the whole process over the coming months. It's important to really pay attention, provide feedback, provide input in the whole process. So thank you for doing that. And I'll end it by saying what an honor and privilege it has been for me to essentially spend about 15 years in the dean's office, working with so many of you. So thank you for your support. So thank you. And if you have any questions.
Thank you, Mas. There are a few questions coming in and some thank yous, mainly thank yous. Thank you for your many years of leadership. And I think most would agree with this comment that you've been an inspiration for many of us. I don't see any actual questions yet. Lots more thank yous. I guess, do you have any questions for us? I'll turn it around on you.
Well, I mean, I can ask you what you're planning for Thanksgiving. I'm sure it'll be, I mean, I would say that if you're like me, I mean, this is actually a great time for me to see you all. But if you're like me, you're really looking for a little bit of a break from Zoom. Of course, unless you're doing a Zoom Thanksgiving with your family and friends, which some people are doing. But I'm looking forward to actually giving my eyes a bit of a rest.
Mas, there are a couple of questions that have come in.
Yes.
What does it mean for the University of Minnesota and CSE to join the Aspire iChange network? Can you talk about that a little bit?
That's really a good question. What does it mean? I really can't tell you what it means. It's important. What it means is this is through the leadership of the Provost's office and OED. With particularly with Kesha Varma from OED and Vice Provost Rebecca Ropers have been leading this for us to be part of a community, in higher education, of a mix of institutions that can work better together. These are not all Big Ten, all essentially leading research universities and such, not peers only, but with a more diverse group of institutions that we can work together to improve the things that we were talking about in terms of the diversity of our students in particular, helping with the pipeline issues, working together better. I mean, for example, obviously this is not through iChange, but and learn from each other, learn some of the best practices. This is my understanding. We have to see how this all will progress, but I'm certainly excited about that.
Mas, you talked a little bit about international students, but what do you see as the outlook for foreign students and postdocs with F and J visas going forward?
Yeah, that's a good question. All of us have high hopes that that with the change with the election, with the outcome of the elections, that the narratives and the plans related to restrictions and the constraints on some of these visa situations are going to be hopefully. Some of them are not actually going to happen. I mean, that's what a lot of us will hope, come to fruition, and some of them will be relaxed, and we will be back into at least a narrative that is much more welcoming to our international students and visitors, and we can get back into the way we continue to give these opportunities to work with these great students who come to our institutions.
So I'm going to combine a couple of questions here. What do you see as the long-term prospectus of the college, and specifically beyond kind of just overall, how our labs are going to be doing, and if COVID and some of these things persist for a few more years? What do you see as the future?
I don't think that way. I mean, COVID persisting, I mean, that's, none of us want to think in those terms. What I can tell you, though, is, and we've seen this before, for those of us who have been around for a while, we've gone through some significant economic slowdowns leading to significant budget challenges, certainly for the university and universities, because everybody's facing these issues, of which then we've come out even stronger. And that's what I'm hoping. I mean, we need perhaps some patience. The fact of the matter is that in 2010, I mean, when we went through the last major recession, we had budget cuts that were similar to some of those 5-6% that I mentioned before. And we managed those, and then we came out of those. We shrunk, our faculty shrunk at the time. Many of you remember those. We went down, and then we came up, and then reached to the largest number of faculty we've had in the College of Science and Engineering. Now, a number of things were different in those days. There were more opportunities, for example, to increase the tuition. So the tuition really started, you've seen those figures that I've shown. The tuition, that's when the tuition really went up significantly. So both the number of the student size in the college increased, the tuition increased, and those really helped us. And the MnDrive initiative, for those of you who are familiar with MnDrive, really was a great help in us recovering. So all we can hope is, and I'm very hopeful, and I think it will happen, is that for a period of time, certainly next year for sure, and possibly the next couple of years, it is highly likely that we will continue to shrink. Our faculty size will continue to shrink. We're operating under a hiring freeze as we speak, or hiring chill, because we have a few exceptions. But and similarly for staff, so we will go down in terms of sort of headcounts and size like that. But the demand for science and engineering has never been stronger and will continue to be strong. And our responsibility to train these students and take advantage of it and work with the community will continue to be very strong. And I'm absolutely confident that we will come out of this again stronger in a couple of years.
Well, I don't see any more questions, and we are at time. There's lots of thank yous in there, Mas, and one of them does say thank you for your positivity as well. And so I think that's something we can all aspire to right now. So I think that's it, unless you have any final words.
I don't, other than my gratitude to all of you. Be well and stay safe.